Hello students, your instructor here, John Mandula with another screencast. This one's going to be about pointillism. So you can also read about pointillism in chapter 8 in your color theory textbook, which I strongly encourage you to do. Now, big names from pointillism were Surratt and Chuck Close. Kind of old and new way of doing it. So as you can see, pointillism is very similar to impressionism in that the emphasis is placed on painting the light and the colors present, not necessarily the fine details. And making it look classic. So this type of painting is done, if we zoom in on this, you can see by dabs or daubs of paint that some overlap, some are just adjacent or butted up next to each other, and you get this incredible sense. Like when you work on it like this, you can imagine how slow that is. Okay, and the paint is applied rather thickly, or at least more thickly than like a staining and glazing process. But what you start to notice is that as you get further and further away from it, it starts to resemble the image you had intended the whole time. So that's what pointillism is all about. The ability to capture fine details is a little bit harder, or just takes a lot more dots. We move on. There's another example. This one's more coarse, but what's amazing is that you can instantly see that it's a picture of a man. What I find fascinating is that if you look closely, if you look in here, where the flesh area is, we think, oh, you use oranges and yellows and some white for that. No, they have blue in there and red and some black. All those purplish and pinkish colors. It seems odd, but when you mix them together, it creates this very rich, very together, holistic kind of image, because the colors that are used in one spot are carried over into the other spots. So like there's blue here and there's blue here. The black carries through. There's even some blues here on the side, and there's reds in every single part of the image too, and it helps it feel like it's all one instead of a collection of pieces. Now this is a work from Chuck Close. He is a much more modern pointillism artist, and he doesn't just do it with like daubs of paint next to each other. This is very carefully gridded out, as you can see. We zoom in on this, and instead of just having one dot in a spot, he carefully organizes kind of concentric dots, or dots within dots within dots, or some kind of like they're sausage shapes, or they're hooked a little bit, or squarish, and it's to create, again, that from far away it looks extremely realistic, and he has some that are far more photorealistic than this. But what's so wild is that, again, there's orange and blue and red and purple and pink and black and white, and it's all overlaid very thoughtfully, very intentionally, so that the composite, the result of the whole thing, is right on the money. And it's a much different way of painting. It's heavily applied paint, but it's only small areas of it at a time. Here's another one again. There's like the diagonal grid structure, which is interesting to set up his painting. So what he does is he starts with a photo, makes a grid, and then carefully recreates each cell of the grid until it's what he wants. And from this close in, it might seem like a mess, almost like a Google map of a city. But the further and further you get away, then more and more you can see, wow, he knew exactly what he was doing the entire time. And again, if there's blue here, he's going to incorporate blue here. It doesn't just say, oh, it's shadow, make it black, or oh, it's highlight, make it white. I mean, look at all the colors that are in here besides straight white. There's blue, there's yellow, there's orange, there's red in there. Look at all the different colors in his lips and the shadows under the nose. I mean, it's phenomenal. The chin work is phenomenal there. One thing I do want to include in this one is that pointillism includes stippling, but it's not. So in other words, if it's something is stippled, it's pointillism, but not all pointillism is stippled. What I mean by that is this is stippling. I think this is computer generated, but it gets the same idea that you would use just a pen or a very small brush or a pencil and just dot, 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 dot. Where the heavier concentration of dots, that's where it's darker. With less concentration, that's where it's lighter. So stippling is different